In this video, you will begin to learn about the MXML application code. First, I will show you the XML declaration statement, which is the first line of the application. Next, you will learn about some Flex Framework namespaces and the classes that are mapped to these libraries. You will also explore how to use a custom namespace to access custom components that you create yourself. In this Building a Data-Driven Flex Application section of the Flex in a Week training series, you will create, layout, and populate a Flex application with data. Many of the topics that you will learn here, like UI, layout, and data retrieval, will be further expanded throughout the week of training. For instance, data handling will be the primary focus of days 2 and 3. UI layout, navigation, styling, and skinning will be explored in depth in days 4 and 5. This video, Understanding Namespaces, focuses on the fundamental topic of namespaces, which you will use to reference the library of Flex Framework classes in your applications. But let's start by looking at the default application file generated by FlashBuilder. This is the employee portal.mxml main application file from an exercise on day 5. I am double-clicking on the Editor tab to expand the code view. The first line of code in this file is the XML declaration that defines this document as an XML file. Remember that MXML is the XML-based declarative language in the Flex framework that is primarily used for visual layout. The XML declaration must be the very first line of code in the document and cannot include any characters before it, not even white space. Note that if I add a space before this code and save the file, the Editor tab displays a red icon which indicates that there is an error in the code. I am double-clicking on the Editor tab again to see the problems view and expanding the error message so I can read it. I'm correcting the error, removing the extra space, and saving the file again. The error indicators all disappear. The next element of code in the MXML file is the application tag, which is required for all MXML application files. The first 3 properties of the application tag define 3 XML namespaces that reference 3 libraries of code in the Flex framework. Before I explain what is in each of these libraries, let me discuss namespaces. If you have not worked with namespaces before, you should be aware that the XML NS property is a reserved XML attribute that is used to declare a namespace. The values after the colon, in this case FX, S, and MX, are the namespace prefixes. You use prefixes before each MXML tag, like the S in front of application and the FX in front of style, to identify the library you are referencing and to avoid any ambiguity if 2 libraries have tags that are named the same. Each namespace has an associated Uniform Resource Identifier, or URI, which is the string that is used to uniquely identify each namespace. Don't confuse the fact that the URI looks like a URL or path with thinking that the libraries are stored in that location. In fact, a URI is really just a string that the implementation uses to ensure a unique value for the namespace mapping. I will explain the association between the namespace and the class files in just a bit. First, let me explain what is in each of these libraries represented by the namespaces. The MX namespace references classes from Flex 3 that include the MX package and data visualization components. The FX namespace is new to Flex 4 and includes the top-level ActionScript language elements like object, number, boolean, and array. It also includes built-in compiler tags like script, declarations, and style. The S or Spark namespace contains all of the new Spark components and text framework classes available in Flex 4. You will also reference the data services components for web service, HTTP service, and remote object calls from the Spark namespace. Lastly, the Spark namespace avoids confusion between the Flex 3 MX components and the Flex 4 Spark components, which you will learn about in the next video. For now, just understand that the Spark and MX libraries include components that have the same names. Each namespace is mapped to manifest files that list all the MXML tags that are part of the namespace. In the file system, I have located the Adobe Flash Builder 4 install directory, and now I am opening the SDKs 4.0.0, frameworks, flex-config.xml file in Firefox, which has a built-in XML parser. When I scroll down in the flex-config.xml file to the namespaces section, you can see that each URI is associated with a manifest file. Note that there is one additional namespace defined for the Flex framework that was not in the application tag. The 2006 namespace definition exists for backwards compatibility with previous versions of the framework. You can find the manifest files in the same directory as the flex-config.xml file. I am opening the spark-manifest.xml file in Firefox. You can see that this lists the Spark classes in the Spark component package. When I scroll down to the RPC section, you can see that the class files all reference the MX package. The data services are available in the Spark namespace for convenience. When I open the 2009 manifest.xml file associated with the FX namespace, you can see that it does not list the compiler tags like declarations, script, or style, which I said were in this namespace. These tags are built directly into the compiler and so are not referenced in the manifest file. Let's go back to the solution code from the Day 5 exercise I showed you at the beginning of this video. I want you to get a sense of these namespaces in action. I already mentioned that the application tag is in the Spark namespace, while the style tag is in the FX namespace. Down in the UI components section of my code, you can see that the skinnable container, hgroup, and label components are in the Spark namespace. The image control, however, is in the MX namespace. I will show you how to identify the component namespaces and available components throughout this series. Back in the opening application tag, you can see there is a components namespace. This is a custom namespace that you can name whatever you want. Its value, components.star, refers to all the files in the components directory of this project. In other words, it points to the library of your own custom components. The cafeteria.mxml file in the components directory is a custom component that you will create later. To use this custom component in your main application, you refer to the namespace, components, and then reference the name of the component, cafeteria, without the mxml file extension. In this example, I have created instances of the custom components Employee Portal Panel, Employee of the Month, and Monthly Events, all in the Components namespace. For your next step, watch the video titled Introducing Flex Components and Controls.